Right then, welcome back to Jamie's Running. Another shoe review, an unexpected one this time. Shape of a white Nike box. Let's see what we've got. Here we have the Nike Tempo Next Percent. So I hadn't intended on buying this shoe, but the reason I ended up getting them was a couple of days ago on the Nike Run Club app. I got a notification to say that I had early member access to buy the Tempo Next Percent. As a result of getting that notification, I felt like it was too good an opportunity to miss. And given all of the hype around these over the past few months, or pretty much since the beginning of the year, I felt like I had to give them a go. So I recently picked up a pair of the Alphafly, and these, along with the Tempo, have been probably the most hyped shoes of 2020 so far. So I had to get my hands on a pair. I put the order in a couple of days ago. The expected delivery was Wednesday the 9th of September. It is now Sunday the 6th of September. I was out this afternoon and got a message on the app to say your Nike shoes have arrived. So got home and sure enough, there was the parcel waiting for me. So yeah, very excited. They've come early. And let's get into the shoe. And I really do like the colorway. So not going to be ideal in the autumn and winter conditions. I can't imagine these are going to stay very clean and white for very long. I like this sort of contrasting midsole there and the colourful AirPods. So you've got sort of pink and purple one side and blues and green the other. The midsole's slightly off-white there, don't know how much you can see. And obviously the slightly off-white upper with the black swoosh. Now, one of the first things you'll notice as well is the stack height. So it is a fairly tall stack height, probably not as much as the Alphafly, but it's up there. And this is sort of the training partner shoe of the racing shoe, if you like. So the plate in here, it's not a carbon fiber plate, it's some form of composite plate. And it's supposed to be a little bit more durable and can be used throughout those training runs. You wouldn't want to train every day in the Alphafly. You'd probably end up getting injured or whatever. As always, I'm not going to go into all of the details of the materials and what's being used in the construction and this, that, and the other. All I'm really interested in is how they look, how they feel, first fit, first run, and how they respond to different types of running, different types of effort, inclines, declines, intervals, that sort of thing. So just getting into the material. So it's actually fairly harsh material. It's quite rugged. It doesn't seem to have much flex or give. It feels like it'll be breathable. The laces are very similar to the Alphafly in that there's sort of no double eyelet or anything at the top, so you can't do a runner's knot, but you've just sort of got a slightly off-centered lacing there. You'll see it goes kind of up towards the outer of the foot, if you like. There's no separate tongue, it's all just one sort of sock-like fit. There's not a great deal of flex or stretch in the material, so I'll see how that is for the shoe going on. Although having said that, the tongue bit itself seems like it is quite stretchy. So the outer of the shoe and the inner of the shoe isn't, but the tongue bit in the middle is, which is quite interesting. In terms of weight, it is fairly light. Let's just compare that to the Alphafly. But there's a definite weight difference in that the Alphafly is lighter. And if you compare that again still to the Vaporfly Next Percent, it's quite a noticeable difference there. So I think the Alphafly is slightly heavier than the Vaporfly, and this is certainly heavier than the two of them. Around the front here, I've almost got an additional sort of plasticky coating over the top of the upper. It just adds a little bit of extra rigidity to that. And around the middle of the foot here, you can see there's an extra layer as well. So maybe that's to get a bit more of a secure fit. I'm not sure. We'll see how that is when I put it on. In terms of the outsole, there's a fairly decent rubber coverage there around the mid and forefoot and also around the heel here. So I'm sort of a midfoot striker, so my landing strike zone is around about here, and then I transition off the toe. So plenty of coverage there, and it's quite thick as well. And so hopefully that means that these will last a fair amount of time. Now I believe you've got a layer of ZoomX foam here, combined with some React foam here, which will hopefully mean that they're a little bit longer wearing than some of the racing shoes. giving them a little flex. There's a composite plate, it's not a carbon fiber plate, but you can feel that they're fairly rigid. I'm hoping that means you get a little bit of energy return, so it helps in those runs such as interval training and speed and tempo runs. But also what I'm hoping to see is the addition of the AirPods, meaning that these are comfortable over those longer distance runs. And around the back of the heel here, from sort of here all the way around, you've got a bit of a cushion there around where the Achilles is, and that'll hopefully hold the foot in place and avoid that up and down slippage during the run. Especially given that I won't be able to do the runner's knot, which I tend to use for that security and to avoid that up and down slippage. So that'll hopefully hold my foot in place. So next up, let's give them a try on, see how they feel. So they slip on without much problem whatsoever. That flex in the tongue making it really easy to just open the sock-like fit of the shoe and slide your foot in. Right, so just stepping into them for the first time then, and actually that sock-like fit is pretty comfortable. There's no feeling of tightness around the foot as such. Walking around, I do feel like my toe is touching the end ever so slightly. So I've got a UK 13 here, which is the same size as all of my running shoes, but take the Vaporfly Next Percent, my foot feels fairly tight and constricted compared to the Alphafly Next Percent, which there's loads of space in that toe box. I can sort of feel a little bit snug around the front of my feet. Let's just take a view from above then. So compared to the Alphafly Next Percent, which has a really tight midfoot here, there's a little bit more width in this shoe, so you're not feeling as constricted around about the arch here. You've got a little bit more width. The toe box then doesn't open up quite as wide as the Alphafly. This is a little bit thinner, but there is some space at the front there, so my usual thumbnail's width in front of the toe, I think it's here where I can sort of feel that slightly coated area of the upper. I can sort of feel that on my big toe there, and a little bit around my little toes here. There's a little bit of excess in the front material. It's sort of creasing a little bit as I bend my foot, but that's no real problem. But around here and around the tongue, that does feel comfortable, so I'm happy with that. And actually, compared to some of the other racing shoes, my foot isn't overhanging. The material is overhanging, the sole there, which is a little bit odd, but my foot isn't overhanging. So the midsole, or the sole of the shoe, is actually fairly wide. So even without being able to do the runner's knot, just giving the heel a little pull there, and there's not a lot of slippage up and down, so that heel counter inside here is providing that security of fit. So I think what I need to do is probably try them on a harder surface downstairs. Let's go. Right, so just going in then onto the harder floor, and you can feel that immediately that the shoe has got a bit of bounce, given those AirPods, and they do feel really cushioned and really soft underfoot. So all that's left for me to do is to lay them out with the rest of my kit for tomorrow, pray for a sunny morning so that I can take them out for a run and see how they feel during that first run. Right, so I'm just approaching kilometre 1 then, and the very first thing that I noticed, here we are, first kilometre, very first thing that I noticed when I stepped out of the house was just how awkward the shoes are to walk in. So weirdly, where those AirPods are, transitioning from your heel to the forefoot when you're walking, just felt like a bit of an awkward process. But actually during the run, because I'm landing sort of mid to forefoot, that awkwardness isn't translating during the run, and it actually feels pretty good. But what I will say is the shoe feels big, it feels heavy. So I'm going at a fairly easy pace of a little under 5 minutes a kilometre, and at that pace the shoe just feels comfortable, sitting there absorbing the impact of each step. The toe box isn't as wide as the Alphafly, and there's not much flex or give in the material, which means where your toe is touching,
you're just sort of aware that it's there. Now, it's causing no problems so far. That's not to say it wouldn't cause problems if it continued to rub over, say, a longer distance run, or if you were giving it a real bit of effort. Now, annoyingly, something has just gone. It felt like something had gone into the gap where the AirPod is. Yeah, there's something not right there. Something gone inside the shoe. Yeah, something just didn't feel quite right there. And that's gone. I think maybe I stood on a stone and it's stuck in the sole. I've got a little bit of an incline. So I'll give it a little bit of effort just to see how it takes on the hill. There's a rabbit. Now the floor is ever so slightly damp, and what I'm finding is my feet, I don't know if you can hear that, my feet are just sliding out from underneath me. What I found there is I was heading up that slight hill, the floor was ever so slightly wet from rainfall yesterday. As soon as I started to apply a little bit of effort, my feet were slipping out from underneath me with every step. So as I was going to toe off, the shoes were sliding backwards a little bit. It felt like there was no grip whatsoever, which, given that we're about to head into autumn and winter, doesn't feel ideal. In terms of the actual security of the fit, my feet feel well held in. They do feel comfortable. It's a bit of a sock-like fit. I'd compare the feel of the fit to something like the Zoom Fly Flyknit. You've got a little bit of give in the tongue where that stretchy material is, but then you're securely held around the outside of the foot. Now, perhaps somewhat annoyingly, one of the AirPods in my left shoe is starting to squeak, so it's making a very different sound to my right foot. Let's see if you can hear. Just taking on some bends and twists and turns. Now, on the drier bit of road just there, felt absolutely fine. On that slightly damp bit of road, it does feel a little bit uneasy, almost a bit icy. It wants to slip out from under you, and so I'm not confident turning fast on those bends where it's damp. Right, coming into the 5 kilometre mark now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the pace up for roughly a kilometre just to see how the shoe holds that race pace. Here we go. Trying to accelerate, I'm losing grip, which is not ideal. Onto the dry ground feels good. Onto the damp ground, not so good. I've picked up the pace fairly well. I am running into a headwind, and I have done 3 half marathons in the last 7 days, so my legs are a bit tired. Let's check in at the end of the interval. So that was 1 kilometre. I think I averaged in the end about 3 minutes 55. I did pick up the pace to maybe 3 minutes and 30, but I just couldn't hold that pace. The shoes felt heavy, my legs felt tired. It was just a little bit of a struggle. I wasn't getting much in the way of energy return to make that interval comfortable. I'm heading back down that ever so slight incline that I ran up earlier, and I'm having to take much shorter steps because I'm just slipping all over the place. I either just have to let myself go, or I'm having to really try and control each step. I'm coming in for the finish, and that is 9.5 kilometres in a time of 44 minutes and 12 seconds. So then, first impressions from that initial run. I have to say I'm a bit frustrated. I really wanted to like these shoes, given all of the hype surrounding the release. When are they going to drop? Everybody around the world talking about them, and they look great. Unfortunately for me, that first run, they just didn't perform as well as they look. So they felt heavy, they felt a bit clumsy, the slightest sign of a damp surface and I was just losing all grip. Inclines and declines, they felt heavy trying to pick the shoe up, going up those hills. Declines, I just didn't feel secure because the floor was ever so slightly wet and I was slipping down that slope. So at the Nice Easy Pace, the AirPods were doing their job. They were making the landing of each step nice and soft. However, that doesn't really compensate for the extra weight added by having the AirPods in the shoe. That weight was really noticeable both on the Easy Pace and when I tried to pick up the pace. So the interval just felt a bit clumsy. I felt like I was having to labour to pick the shoe up, which again, I felt really frustrated given the hype around this as a really great training shoe. All in all, I'm sort of struggling to see where these shoes are going to fit in my rotation. Long, easy runs, yes, they'll feel comfortable underfoot, but the extra weight, you'll be able to feel that over those long runs. And given that the shoe's £170, I'd expect more from it. I wouldn't want it as just a long distance comfortable shoe. I've got much cheaper options for that. Overall, I'm just not sure how I feel about the shoes, and I'm a little bit disappointed. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that sort of good stuff. Hit the notification bell wherever that is on the screen, and I will see you on the next video. Yo!